Hi, welcome to Slick Witty Fly. So I'm tying a Charlie variant. No trip to South Florida, Florida Keys, Miami, Chokoloskee. No trip to that area is complete without some form of a Charlie gotcha variant, hybrid, whatever you want to call them. I tie several different sizes and color combinations, everything from a size. This is a 6. This is a 4. I can tie them all the way up to a 2. I like to have different colors, different variations for different conditions, and sometimes I use lead, sometimes I use bead chain. It's just, having a variety for whatever's happening on any given day. So this right here is probably one of the more go-to colors in my world. This shell pink, I love this. This is in a size 6 with gold bead chain, and I say we tie up another one. Hope you're enjoying a cocktail with me. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, and let's quickly talk some materials. So for hook, I'm using the Gamakatsu B10S in size 6, and the reason I'm using that hook is because it's a little bit of a lighter wire and will penetrate a little bit easier when I set the hook. I also like the Mustad 34007. Both work very well. For the tail, this little bit of tail that you see here, same thing here. It's Krystal Flash. And for the body, in this particular fly, the one we're going to do, it's SSS Braid in pearl, which I have right here. Gold bead chain that we talked about. And for the wing, this is where it gets pretty cool. It's Zonker. I'm using 3mm shrimp pink Zonker. So, on a little bit more Krystal Flash and a weed guard. I say we change the camera angle and let's tie a fly. Okay, so let's go ahead and throw a hook in. It's going to be that B10S we spoke about. And then the first thing I'm going to do here now is I'm going to put a little bit of super glue on the hook so that the thread doesn't spin. I hate when the thread spins. And I don't even need to wait for the super glue to dry. I can just go ahead and start my thread. We're going to put down a simple base, but we're going to go all the way deep into the bend. Because when we put on that Krystal Flash tail, we want it to kind of hook up a little, bend up a little. And any of the thread that shows will just be an additional little hot spot. Alright, so now we're going to work our way back to the location where we're going to tie in that bead chain. So the bead chain, it's going to be far enough back that we could tie in the wing. About the length of a bead chain is about the location. You could say, I don't know, 4 or 5 millimeters, a little more than an eighth, a little less than a quarter maybe of an inch. But basically I'm giving myself enough room to tie in the wing and the weed guard. And here I'm just doing a few, wraps in both directions. I don't ever count my wraps. I don't get that crazy. I just wrap it so that it gets straight and starts to feel secure. Now, what is important is once I feel secure, that the locking wraps, what we call the figure 8s that are coming now, these figure 8s are the most important, and that's over the hook shank but under the bead chain. Over the hook and under the bead chain. And what that does is that draws in all those previous wraps. It just sucks them in nice and tight. So a lot of times you'll see me put super glue on the bead chain. I'm not going to do that on this fly because we are going to finish the fly with a little bit of UV resin. So now we can go straight into the tail. For the tail, we're going to use one strand of Krystal Flash, which I didn't pre-prep because Krystal Flash has a tendency of disappearing and just becoming a mess. But I just pull out one strand and I'm going to fold it over and then fold it again and then fold it again, because we really want the tail to be quite short.
This isn't gonna be a big tail. And once I folded this over a few times, I'm just gonna tie it in right at that back of the hook where it's bending. And I'm gonna tie it about dead center of what I have in my fingers. There's no reason for me to try to measure anything because I'm gonna trim it, and when I trim it, I will end up opening up all those loops. So once I've secured that down, we just fold over the remaining and make sure that we secure it all nice and tight. And by folding it that way, you really make it very durable. It's gonna be nearly impossible for that tail to come off. So now the length of the tail. The length of the tail is, you know, everyone can decide for themselves. I'm gonna say about 1/4 of an inch. Again, that whole 4 or 5 millimeter benchmark. I don't want a super long tail. I like to keep it more or less short. So we just snip it, and now all those loops are open, and that's perfect. That's exactly what I was hoping to have. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring the thread back to the Krystal Flash tie-in point, and the next material that's going to get tied in is that SSS braid, the flat braid in pearl. And we're just going to go ahead and, I just cut a piece off at random. I don't know, maybe it was 6 inches, 5 inches, you know, it's just a guess. But we're going to go ahead and tie that in and then set it to the side. We're going to bring our thread back to about the center of the hook. Well, when we do the next material, we'll bring it to the center of the hook. So the next material is going to be the wing, and that's what I mean about the center of the hook shank right there. But to do this, the best way to do this is to invert the hook. And we'll basically tie the remaining of the fly in this inverted position. So now the next material is that zonker. And I have this little piece of zonker, and zonker has a naturally the way it naturally sits, it angles on that skin patch. So what we're going to do is we're going to take what would be the back end, the end that goes towards the hook shank, I'm sorry, the hook point, and we're going to trim off, I don't know, maybe 2 millimeters, 1/8 of an inch. We're going to go ahead and trim the fur off of the skin, and then I'm going to take the scissors and we're going to cut a little tie-in notch into the skin, because we don't really want it to get really big and bulky. We just want it to be secured nice and hard. So right there you see I'm cutting in that tie-in point, just making a little triangular shape. Just like that. And now this is the most complicated part of the fly. It really, you just need to take your time and try not to get stabbed by that hook. You're just going to present that tie-in point at about the midpoint of the hook shank there, the center point of the hook shank, and you're going to carefully, taking your time, you're going to go ahead and capture that zonker strip. Couple of loose wraps, making sure that you like exactly where it's sitting. And now you're going to go ahead and lash it down nice and hard. It's important that you get this tied in nice and hard. And once you feel good that you've got it nice and hard, you fold up your zonker and you put a couple of wraps in behind. And then you could take your thread and move your thread up beyond the eyes and just sit there and prepare now to work the braid. The braid, we're going to thread the braid, you know, touching turns in the same direction as the thread, and we're going to wrap it up the body. And using the braid, depending on how much braid, I was a little bit, I'm using a piece that was left over from a previous fly, and this is a very borderline amount. I should have had an inch or two more. But what I like to do is I like to work it up the body, and then I like to use the braid when I get in front of the zonker. I like to try and make a little bit of a taper to the body. And there I lost it, and now I'm going to switch to using a hackle plier, which I should have done from the beginning. Using the hackle plier would have made life a lot easier. But so now we're going to repeat the process. You know, I think it's important to show the mistakes, because you know we're all just having a good time, and unless you're a professional fly tyer, you know, you're going to have little moments like that. So it's just natural. It's not the end of the world. You just do it again. So now when I get to the B chain, I like to make sure that I go in both directions through the bead, through the eyes, and get that braid look into the eyes. And then we end up in front of the B chain. Just like that. Boy, that was just enough braid there. That was really close. But now we're going to go ahead and capture that, and this fly is very soon done. Once you capture that, you can trim away the tag. Just like that. Now we're going to bring that zonker forward, and what I like to do now is I like to give that skin a little bit of a stretch, getting it nice and tight. Not super hard, but just, you know, so that it has that little bit of a tightness on top of the fly. And on this particular moment, when I secure this down, number one, and you're going to see me go do it here in a second, is I should have worked my thread up to the very back of the bead chain, which I'm going to do now. Because you want to tie this in really, really right at where the bead chain is going to start. So again, I'm going to just prepare the zonker. I'm going to stretch it, and I don't mind. In fact, I want to trap a little bit of fur here. Just makes it look a little bit more natural. Just making sure everything is where I want it, nice and straight. And crank that down, cut off my tag, and then I'm going to clean up the head. Beautiful. It's coming out great. You know, the 3mm zonker is the perfect size. You definitely don't want, I wouldn't want to use a bigger zonker. So now once I clean this up, the next and last thing to do is the weed guard. And I'm just taking a piece of Mason's Hard Mono, putting a little crimp in it. And then we're going to use the crimp to lock in this weed guard. See it here in a second. Oh, I'm sorry. We're actually putting in Krystal Flash right now. I take 1/2 a strand of Krystal Flash, and I go ahead and I put it on, kind of like antennas, if you will, on a shrimp. I put it right on top and secure it nice and hard, and again, by folding it over the thread that way, it really makes that Krystal Flash really tough and durable. So now the last material is going to be my weed guard, and we're going to put a little crimp in it, and then we're going to use that crimp to lock it in nice and hard. So I present it onto the front of the fly, leaving a little gap on the bottom that helps me lock it all in. And once I get a few wraps on that side, now I'm going to fold it forward and get a couple of wraps behind it, because this will help it to get in the correct position that I want it to be in. And now I can pull it up. You know, I have that hook that's like really pinching my fingers there. So just because this is kind of a small fly, so if it's fighting you, just grab a tool. In this case, I have this flat plier. It's not cutters, it's just flat, and I'm just going to use my plier and pull it up nice and hard. So now it's exactly where I want it. I'm gonna go ahead and put a couple of wraps in between to keep them, you know, splayed the way we want them. And that weed guard is exactly the way I want it. So you would trim the weed guard to be about the same length as the hook. That's the idea with the weed guard. You don't really want it shorter or longer. So it's a whip finish. And now it's a little bit of trim. We gotta trim those, that Krystal flash antenna. And we're gonna trim possibly the weed guard. And then it's a little bit of UV resin and this fly is finished. So the length on the antenna that I'm looking for is a little bit longer than the Zonker. I don't want them crazy long. That's probably good right there. But again, these kind of decisions, the length of the antenna, that's a very personal decision. You can make them longer and probably they'll work great. So now it's a little bit of UV resin and this fly is basically finished. You remember, you're not in any rush when you use resin. So you can maneuver it however you need to maneuver it until you zap it. And once you zap it, then that's it. Then it's hard. I'm using a really thick resin because I didn't want it to run all over the place. I didn't want it to run into the eye of the hook. But even so, I usually stick something down that eye of the hook just to make sure it's clear. Little fine adjusting, making sure everything is where I want it. Gonna make sure that eye of the hook is clear like we just spoke about. And now we're gonna zap it. And there it is, the Zonker Charlie. It's a great fly.
All right, so there it is. You know, I think that I'm gonna end up doing a couple of flies, a couple of different videos, maybe a 2 or 3 part series on the Charlie Gotcha variation. There are so many nice types of Charlies or Gotchas, and really they're very similar. It's really the small details, like this one has rubber legs. This has a translucent body. You know, there's just a lot of different variants, and I think they're super simple to tie and fun to tie and super effective. So I hope you're having a cocktail. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Thank you for watching the videos. Hope you're enjoying them, and good luck catching.